Well. In the early going in this NFL season, we've got a handful of 2-0 clubs. This week, we've got two such matchups pitting 2-0 clubs against each other. Speaking of Pitt, one is the upstart Steelers against a little surprising Chargers, and of course, the very surprising Vikings going against potential Super Bowl contender Houston. Which of these clubs will end up 3-0, and which ones will come back down to earth?
Baltimore and Dallas. In the preseason, this could have been a possible Super Bowl matchup. Now, both of these teams are just hoping to make the playoffs. Who will survive this week 3 must win game?
Bucks McGee had some harsh words for the Kansas City Chiefs last week, but now the defending champs go down to the ATL in a matchup with fellow alleged Super Bowl contender, the Falcons. Which of these clubs will right the ship?
49ers and Rams. Both teams are dealing with a rash of injuries. Which team will limp to victory in this week 3 matchup?
Week 3, Sunday Scaries with Bucks McGee. A lot of make or breaks. Let's talk about it.
Week 3. You figure at this point in time, most teams kind of figure out who they are, what they're going to be. But some of these teams are nowhere near where we thought they were going to be in the preseason. Nutmeg, please make sense of these week 3 matchups.
Yeah, well, there's not a whole lot sense in the game that kicked off week 3, Jets and Patriots. I mean, do you see this as a little bit of fool's gold because the Jets? I mean, Rodgers looks really crisp. The defense is locking it down, but the Patriots aren't exactly going to battle with a full magazine here.
Who are the Jets playing? Let's be really let's be honest. Jacoby Brissett looks horrible. Like, I give the guy all the credit in the world. The guy's been a journeyman. He's, done his time, had some glimpses when he was in Cleveland, but let's be realistic. The Jets are whooping up on a wounded animal. The Patriots have no offense whatsoever. Like, I don't feel impressed by what the Jets are doing. Like, if you're a Jets fan, I wouldn't be pumping my chest that much.
Yeah.
Like, you're beating the team you're supposed to beat. So do what you got to do and move on. No, this game is, oh my God, it's horrible. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, don't I understand it's a long time rivalry, but like you said, team you're supposed to beat. Like, just take the W, get to the finish line, take the W, and move on to whoever's next.
You're not beating number 12 and the hooded one, okay? You're beating Gerard Mayo and Jacoby Brissett. Don't pump the brakes. Get the win like you're supposed to and move on. Whatever. I'm so over it. Like, Al Michaels is like, I can't handle it. Aaron Rodgers, so smooth in the pocket. Like, I get it. He came back from an injury, but let's be realistic here. Like,
Yeah,
whatever. It is what it is.
yeah. And Patriots are supposed to have a decent defense, and I guess that fallacy shattered too.
The Patriots left the defense at home. I don't know what this is. No idea what defense this is.
Yeah. Fair point. Speaking of things we didn't exactly know what they were last week, we had quite the time breaking down the Ravens and the Cowboys. The Cowboys getting run to the woodshed by the Saints, and the Ravens a heartbreaking loss to the Raiders, collapse if you will. Well, not if you will. Let's call a spade a spade. Uh, but now they go directly at each other, and in our schedule roulette, I think if I'm not mistaken, you gave it to the Cowboys, but we were thinking it was a flip of a coin. This could go either way. These are supposed to be two very good teams, if not two Super Bowl contenders. Based off of last week, do we still kind of feel that way, and or what's the kind of which team should have the edge as far as making last week a forgotten memory and this week kind of reset the fans and the audience's minds?
I don't know who forgets it. This is unreal. This is uncharted territory for Baltimore. Like, let's be real. They're a perennial, what, 10 to 12 win team. Dallas is, 12 wins, during the regular season. They're the greatest regular season team of all time. But then when the playoffs come, they're good. They're one and done. So at this point, the Ravens need this game. The Ravens absolutely need this game. If they lose another one, their next stretch of games are not easy whatsoever. They could go 0-5.
Yeah.
They got Buffalo on the horizon, and it's not pretty. They've got to figure it out. If they want any chance of the playoffs, they've got to figure it out and win Sunday.
Yeah, you said like they're used to being a perennial 10, 11, 12 win team. To start off 0-3, let alone whatever's after this, that's a serious. Uh, I don't necessarily want to. I don't want to necessarily dumb it down as a reality check, but that's almost like a shake up mode. You got to do something to change this a little bit.
You bring in Derrick Henry, and everyone's saying this is the missing piece. This is what it's going to take, and it is just falling apart. They've had leads in these last couple games, can't finish the job. It's tough. So Baltimore, they need this win desperately. Dallas too. At least Dallas, has kind of smelt victory. It's but them too. They need a win. But if you're asking me who needs it the absolute most, it's got to be Baltimore, especially coming out of the AFC. They need this win.
Yeah, so I'll read between the lines a little bit. So you think Dallas would be better equipped to deal with 1-2 than Baltimore at 0-3?
From what I've seen so far, I've got to say yes. Dallas won a game. I've got to give it to them right now. Not by much, but yeah. You
Despite
literally
the
have
fact that it was against the Browns.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Baltimore has a 10-point lead against the Raiders and can't finish the job. What's going on? Uncle Rico goes in and somehow whips up a victory. Hey, all the power to the Raiders, but Baltimore should have had that game sealed and done. So you tell me.
Yeah. What is like let's figure out like what is the biggest thing to look for each club. Like what do you want to see the Ravens do really well in order to be confident that they will walk out with a victory? And likewise for the Cowboys, what's the one thing you want to see them do really well in order for them to walk out of the victory?
Well,
Which is
Baltimore
funny because it's at Dallas. We know they don't play well at home.
Baltimore has to play better defense. You give up 2 10-point leads in a game and you lose. Like, their defense has to shore up and just be better. This isn't the Baltimore defense that people are accustomed to. So their defense has to show up. Comes to Dallas, they got to score points. They got to score points. You need a well-rounded game. The run game is non-existent, and this was something they could have fixed or tried to fix in the offseason. Didn't do it. Felt the same pieces were good enough to win, and you're sitting at 1-2 and almost clinging for your playoff life early at 1-2. So they need a better offensive showing overall, and especially in the run game. Got to have some semblance of a run game.
Incidentally, the back they could have brought in is the one they're facing.
Yeah, but when you have the greatest GM in the world, Jerry Jones, he knows better. He knows better.
That's yeah, and like it's obviously the Saints game they gave up 44 points, but we've said in the past with like the even in the Browns game the Dallas defense was like so you're thinking that they need to just kind of take whatever they can get from the defense and just rely on they just need to outscore people if they're going to win any game, let alone this one.
if they can run the ball, they can control the clock. Like they can't run the ball. So at this point, it's all offense. It's all pass, and that's giving the ball right back to your opponent. You're not eating any clock. I think right now what Dallas needs to do is try to control the clock, eat it up as much as you can. With you brought Zeke back, so let him be the man. Maybe Zeke can eat a little bit, and try to be smart. You're not gonna bomb the hell out of anybody because they know that's all you can really do. So maybe eat up the clock, tighten things up a bit, maybe a more methodical type of offense. But they got to score points. The offense has kind of been non-existent.
Any guess as to what part of the Baltimore defense is the biggest problem, or is it a scheme thing and it's all over the board?
I don't know. It just seems like the linebackers just aren't there. I don't know. I think letting Patrick Queen go free agent, I think was a big thing for them. They don't have that fire that you usually get from a Baltimore defense. Short tackling, hard hitting. They're giving up 10-point leads. You just don't when you don't say that about a Baltimore defense. You don't. So, and on the offensive side, the run game as well, really not there. So do you make a conscious effort just to feed Derrick Henry and see if he can have a breakout game?
Yeah.
Or are you still going to go this route and kind of placate to Lamar? He's been an MVP. He's got to be at this point. You're a veteran. You got to be able to carry this team offensively and put points up. You've got to figure it out. No more. You're not the young guy anymore. You're a veteran. You got to figure it out.
Yeah. And speaking of what he is, I mean, in recent years he's come across the moniker of being the Superman wearing the S on the chest, and maybe that's not really the best thing for Lamar. Maybe he needs to be. Maybe we've kind of been a little fooled by that because of his amazing athletic ability. Uh, Maybe he's the type of quarterback that needs a full team around him to support, as opposed to being a guy that just strap the horses on and I'll carry you to victory.
No, that's true. Maybe, but he's also had a better defense. But let's be
Yeah.
honest, he's had a better defense behind him. The last couple of years, this defense doesn't really, like I said, doesn't remind me of a true Baltimore defense. So if this is the guy you want to, say, okay, carry us, Lamar, then he's got to do the carrying. And right now, it's not happening. I think they're confused on offense. They don't know how to use Derrick Henry. It's okay. We don't want to get maybe they don't want to get Lamar mad. I don't know. I just can't figure it out. But this Sunday, they have to figure it out because at this rate, if they lose, I don't think they're making the playoffs.
Well, nothing's gonna make like to that point, nothing's gonna make Lamar more mad than losing. Um, and like you said, like it's weird to see Baltimore with bad defense. It's really weird to double down on that to see them with the linebackers being less than stellar because that's the Hall of Fame unit of years past. You had Ray, you had Peter Boulware, another Hall of Famer, Suggs, who just is probably gonna go in next year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's even.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to bring up a name of trivial past for you, but Adalius Thomas.
They all can't be gold, and it happens, You pick up, tired, Reggie Wayne off the scrap heap from time to time. You get those guys, it just happens.
Well, I'm glad he was tired off the scrap heap because I don't think I could have dealt with him seeing him in that uniform for any more amount of time than he was. Well, speaking of the gold, there's a couple teams that have been very much gold in the early going, and honestly, 3 of the 4 of them. Well, there's been more than 4, but 4 of them all going head to head. 3 of the 4 of these have been pretty surprising. I mean, we weren't very high on the Chargers. I don't want to say we weren't high on the Steelers, but we certainly kick them around enough to make people think we're not high on them. And we're certainly weren't very high on the Vikings. But I mean, and Houston obviously that's the outlier. But so this first one, the Chargers, I think if I'm not mistaken, they stayed the whole week on the East Coast, so they didn't have to go west to east, then back home, then west to east again. So they just go a quick little flight up the Atlantic seaboard to Pittsburgh. They're coming in 2-0. They beat division rival Raiders, which at first we're thinking, yeah, whatever, the Raiders. But obviously with the comeback over the Ravens, maybe we have to respect them a little bit more. And
Mm-hmm.
then, they beat up the Panthers. Everybody does that. So the Steelers, on the other hand, they obviously have that big win, ruining Kirk Cousins' debut. And then they win last, and then they win last week as well. Denver, I think.
Yep.
Well, I guess that's the equivalent of Chargers beating the Panthers because everyone beats Denver. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
you've got a situation where both teams go in with a pretty respectable victory, and then one of these victories that they should have.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess from what you've seen with Herbie, kind of his numbers are a little lower, but he has to get back on track, make a connection with McConkey. And then Pittsburgh with the Justin Fields experiment kind of working out better than they probably anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what do you think's going to break here?
Honestly, I I don't trust Justin Fields. I think this is the game where maybe he finally. And you know what? I give him credit. The last two games he's played within the system. Their defense has carried him totally. Their defense has carried him. But I think the Chargers are going to put him in a position where he has to make the play to win. Where he has to not hand the ball off, play safe, know that 6 or 7 field goals are going to win me the game. They're going to force him to make a play or two, and I don't know. He has yet to prove that this season. I could be wrong, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. The Chargers have become a totally different beast. They're
Yeah.
running the ball a lot more. J.K. Dobbins is all of a sudden healthy, and he's a beast.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're not.
We'll just watch the clock on that one.
You know what? That could no, but you know what? Maybe that was just the Baltimore thing. Maybe this is it.
Yeah.
But
It was
and
bad trainer's room.
bad juju there, and they're not forcing Herbie to be the guy and carry everything. He's playing within an offense. Yeah, right now he's not putting up monster numbers, but maybe he doesn't have to in this offense. If you got a guy who can stay healthy and run the ball, and Herbie can pick and choose his spots. He's got the talent, so it's not like you're scared he's going to throw the ball. He's going to a bad situation throwing the ball. So it's just a new identity for the Chargers, and right now they're killing it. But I think what's going to happen is the Chargers will do just enough to win.
And with the to your point on their weapons, the Quentin Johnston looked like the Quentin Johnston we were expecting last season in the Panthers game. So maybe he's playing, and McConkey looks like a nice little security blanket. So the weapons in almost said San Diego. The weapons with the Chargers are looking like what we expected. But I'm going to read between the lines a little bit because to your point on this is the week to see Fields falter. Does that mean that your confidence of last year in the Chargers defense is being paid out now in this year?
No, I think it's just the fact that I don't know if Justin Fields has enough to take over this game and to win it with his arm. I think the Chargers defense is competent enough to put him maybe in a couple positions where he bad read or he thinks he can make a throw and he can't.
You think it'll come down to something like that, like kind of unstoppable force meets a movable object with the defenses, and it's going to come down to which quarterback can make a play at the end.
Yeah, I think it is because the Steelers defense is great, and I'm sure they may get a turnover. I'm sure Watt is going to affect the game in some way, but I believe that there's enough offense on the Chargers side to overcome that by way of Justin Fields, either a fumble or a pick. And like I said, I give the guy credit. He's played well within that system, but sooner or later, he's going to be forced to have to carry that team at a pivotal point in a game, and I don't know if he can do that.
What a far away we've come since the end of last year. We were singing up his praises at the end of the year when the Bears were on a hot streak, and it's like, oh my goodness, here's the Justin Fields everyone thought they were going to get.
Well, they didn't care. They just said go out there and throw the ball around. They didn't care. They were playing like NFL Street. They didn't care.
Oh, take me back. NFL Street, take me back. Jeremy Shockey running up the walls.
That's what it was. And like I said, I think if Justin Fields was in the right situation, if he sat behind somebody, developed, we'd be talking about him in a totally different light. Unfortunately, Bryce Young could be looking in the mirror.
Oh.
So, but like I said, I think the Chargers are going to force Fields to make a play, and I don't know if he can do it, but I could be wrong. We'll see what happens.
Bryce Young benched for my redheaded brethren this week.
the red rifle himself.
Last point on the Chargers. How much credit do you give this start to the leadership of Harbaugh? Like he's actually had a significant effect on this, because really the pieces haven't changed from last year.
They haven't, but the voice has, and I think he just brings a different voice, a different perspective, and I think these guys eat it up right now this early in the season. I think he's probably just letting them be themselves, but he also kind of sits there and puts it in terms that they understand, and he uses their strengths. He's like, I'm not going to force Herbie to be the guy. He's going to be part of the solution, and if you can run the ball, let's do it. So I think Harbaugh has been a great addition. It's early still, but right now it's paying off.
Yeah. An expectation that we probably should have tracked, or just kind of a situation of anyone can be better than Brandon Staley?
I don't know. Sheesh. At the end of the day, I think this game just comes down to mistakes. It's going to be a mistake game. Whoever makes the last mistake, the team that comes up with that ball, is going to win the game. I'm just going with that.
So not even the last person with the ball wins. The last person to not screw up wins.
This could be like a Giants game where one team just kicks like 7 field goals and wins the game, no touchdowns. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't see Justin Fields putting up 20+ points. I just don't see it happening. So, like you said, it's going to be a situation where something has got to give, and I think the Steelers will be that part.
Fantasy owners, beware of this one.
I wouldn't touch any of this, but someone took Justin Fields and has hopes and dreams. So, hey, I hope it works out. I hope it does.
Well, things that worked out, obviously a lot has worked out for the Minnesota Vikings, and we were talking about Sam Darnold with a little bit of jest in the offseason. I don't think we actually had realistic thoughts that he could be successful, but I mean, him throwing a Jettis right now, he looks like vintage Kirk throwing a Jettis.
Maybe it's the Baker Mayfield effect. You find the right spot and you flourish. I think he went in and it was a situation of, okay, if I don't screw up in the preseason, I think I can outlast JJ.
Yeah.
He did, and he does what he has to do. The talent was always there. It's just the fact that he went to the Jets. Let's be honest. The Jets organization ruins quarterbacks. They ruin quarterbacks. Unless you came from somebody else to the Jets, if you get drafted by the Jets, you're done. Like, it's a kiss of death. Let's be real here. So I think he just needed to go a couple places. Well, that's what happened, and he was able to kind of figure himself out. So you got to give him credit. He's playing great ball. Like you said, we're Sam Darnold. Come on now. We were like, oh, they're throwing in the towel. This will be a hoop. And lo and behold, they're undefeated. It's hard to say that I could have literally sat here and said, wow, Minnesota Vikings have a better record than the Baltimore Ravens.
I know. Wrong shade of purple.
I wouldn't have took that bet for anything. But hey, you give them credit. They've been able to play well, and Sam's leading them.
And to your point on the Baker effect, just finding the right spot, and I understand I may be setting this up as kind of a blurred line situation, but how much do you think it's the right spot versus right coach? Because O'Connell has kind of he's starting to build a reputation of being a master with the quarterbacks and kind of one of the better hires of a quote unquote nobody before he got the job, and having a successful start to his coaching career, head coaching
No, that's part of it. I think he also is from that Shanahan tree where Darnold came from the being in San Fran and such. So I think there's some he knows what they're looking to do. He's not asked to do anything out of the ordinary. He understands the plays, understands some of the terminology, I'm sure. So I think it was a perfect fit. They were probably saying, okay, Sam's going to be the stopgap guy, and once JJ's ready, there you go. I'm sure they're pleasantly surprised with what they've gotten, but I think it works when you're able to bring somebody in who kind of knows what your offense is going to be, what it needs to do, what the pieces are, where guys should be. So it's right now, it's a marriage made in heaven right now. We'll see in the next couple weeks how they go, how they play, but right now, this is it, and it's working.
Yeah, and this is gonna be a little bit of a weird thing to say because, of course, JJ got hurt, but the stopgap of Darno to JJ working out better than the stopgap of Brissett to Drake May.
They just should have went with Drake May and said, you know what? If we're gonna ruin the kid, let's ruin him, because that's just a joke. That's a joke, man. Like, that's just sad.
Now, I mean, how much do you see a similar effect from last week? Because the Niners came into Minnesota down McCaffrey, and you pointed it out, that being a little bit of a house team, that team being a little bit of a house of horrors for San Francisco. Um, so how much do you think that was just a kind of best best of luck, best of intentions thing, or do they actually have a chance to stand up with Houston?
When it came to San Francisco, sometimes you just play a team and it just happens. Like you don't you go on these slides against the team, and I think that's just what happened. With the Vikings and Niners. Sometimes you just play a team, you know them well enough, and sometimes you take a couple butt kickings and until you're able to win one and flip it around. So Houston's a little different. Houston has pieces everywhere. The Niners came in limping. Texans, I think, are pretty much full strength, but those kids are good. I think this is going to be a true test. They're going to really be able to. Vikings are really going to be able to see where they stack up, because honestly, the Texans probably one of the three best teams in the AFC. So you're gonna really find out where you are. They've got it, all three phases.
Yeah, it could be a hard crash back down to earth for Vikings faithful.
Well, even if they lose, if they keep it close, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's like, okay, well, kind of back to the drawing board. But now if they get blown out like 34-10, then yeah, okay, well, so much for that. You come back and kind of figure it out. But if it's only like a 3-point, 3 or even 5-point game, then you hung well. No one had expectations for this Minnesota team, so you can't knock it. You just say, okay, we hung in there, and I think that's the key. But Minnesota's, I think, feeling like they can play with anybody.
Yeah, we could have a moral victory situation.
Yeah.
Refresh my memory. Houston last week, they beat us, and then
oh, don't forget. Oh no, it was that epic Chicago game. Come on, man.
That's right.
It was that high scoring fiesta.
There was a reason I purged it from my memory, I suppose.
the Caleb Williams fiesta,
Yeah, that was. You're talking about Al Michaels gushing over Rodgers in this Thursday nighter. I mean, Tarico is very much gushing over Caleb Williams in that one. I'm looking. They're why him and Collins was watching the same game. The rest of us are.
It was the whole he's going to be. Well, he's in the league now, so he needs to be. So that's what that is.
So based off of that, I mean, is there? I mean, we talk about like the odds of it being a close game versus Minnesota here, and Minnesota's having played well so far in 2 games. Houston, they barely survived against the Colts, which I'm going to be completely honest. After that Packers game, I'm not very confident in our abilities whatsoever. And then they, have to really grind this one out with against the Bears with Caleb Williams significantly underperforming. I mean, there might be a chance for this to at least be close, if not Minnesota pulling an upset.
Yeah, if Minnesota plays to their strengths, the turnovers are going to be absolutely key. But yeah, no, Minnesota's got a chance. There's definitely a chance they could win. It's just going to come down to execution.
Yeah, and taking advantage of any miscues by Houston if they do struggle, like they did in the first 2 games. Not to say they struggled at 2-0, but not playing up to Super Bowl contender status as we thought they would.
Yeah, well, even if they lose, even if the Texans were to lose, they're in good shape. Look at the rest.
Yeah.
Look at the rest of the AFC. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, it's like Play-Doh.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know. Who knows what's going to happen. So I think the Texans will pull it out. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being like a 16-13 Minnesota victory.
Well, speaking of the rest of the AFC, I think one of your favorite topics in the early going this season to keep up with is the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs, and they've got. I'll go ahead. What do they need to do to Atlanta? Because Atlanta, obviously, you're no fan of the Falcons. You've let that be known many times. And the Falcons are coming off a pretty exciting victory. It's just that Monday night against the Eagles was a struggle fest for both teams for a while. But all of a sudden, the Falcons that everyone thought the Falcons were going to be showed up at the end with a heroic drive. They get the last minute touchdown, and the Philly struggles continue as far as wondering what is Jalen Hurts still the same Jalen Hurts? Is Sirianni still the same Sirianni?
No. It was, I'm Saquon Barkley. I can't catch a ball in the flat by myself.
That's
if
true.
I catch that ball, that game is over. No. The Eagles had that game. Saquon Barkley just can't catch a ball out of the flat. He's one of the worst receiving backs in the league. I don't know why he even did it, but I don't know. I'm Nick Sirianni. I know what I'm doing. Whatever. So hooray for Kirk. So what's your question now? Which one do I have to tolerate to win? Was that it?
I think that's probably a good layman's way of describing it, because
do I want to deal with Taylor Swift or Kirk Cousins? Is like, that's your question.
Yeah, I mean, like, what do you? Well, let's take it from the Chiefs' perspective first, because obviously, as much hype as there is on the Falcons, there's a lot more pressure on the Chiefs being the chance and going for the three-peat. What do the Chiefs need to do against Atlanta to convince you and the rest of the football world that the Chiefs are back? And mind you, they're already at a significant disadvantage because Pacheco's going to be out for a significant amount of time, if not the rest of the season.
What do you mean? They got Kareem Hunt back. What are you talking about? They're ready to go. Okay.
Just keep away from domestic disputes.
Travis Kelce needs to show up. Like,
yeah,
let's be honest. Like, let's be real. You look at the 2 games that the Chiefs won. You win. But first game was by a toe. Let's be honest. Second game, if Cincinnati can keep their composure, they probably win that game. So it comes down to they need a complete game. They need that offense to show up, because that's all everybody talked about. Oh man, this offense is going to be great again with Worthy. Now, mind you, Hollywood Brown is out. I get that, and now Pacheco's out. So now you've got to figure it out. If Mahomes is the man, then it should be no change, and you should be able to put up points. But that offense looks pedestrian. And again, they're hanging their hat on that defense. That defense has come up in the last couple games, but I don't think it's as good as it was last year. I think it's solid. If it wasn't for a pass interference call from Cincinnati, they'd be 1-1. So that's, I think you're going to see a lot more Travis Kelce. They may try to force it a bit because I don't know what this run game is going to be. I no idea. But those receivers better catch balls if they're getting them thrown their way. They better start making catches.
Yeah, not have a repeat of last year in that regard.
Exactly. The Falcons, they got to start out fast. They can't go, 2 or 3, 3 and outs and, a field goal here. And because if they're down by a couple scores at the half, yeah, there's talent on that offense. I don't know if it's good enough to come back.
Or even just more than 58 of 60 minutes before they get going.
I think you're going to see a lot in the run game. They're going to try to keep the ball out of Casey's hands. And you're going to have to see what happens, but I don't know.
Do you think, because they said something interesting before that Monday Nighter kicked off, that Kirk Cousins, he's not 100%, but he's 100% if he's in the pocket. Now he's not necessarily, your prototypical mobile quarterback, not Lamar Jackson, and not even Mahomes. But do you think that's a significant factor in why the Falcons are going to kind of get off to a slower start?
It could be. It's great when you can sit in the pocket and dissect the defense and sit there and see. But if you're getting a pass rush and you can't get out, even if you can just move a little bit to the left, to the right, if you can't dance somewhat in that pocket, then there's a problem. And if Kirk can't roll out a little bit, if that's what they're saying, and that's a problem. Mm-hmm. Especially, I think, with that Chiefs defense with Chris Jones, he's best DT in the league. Let's be honest. The guy's incredible. You gotta give Chris Jones his flowers. So if they start, pushing Kurt out of the pocket, that's bad news for Falcons fans. Bad news. I think they're gonna rely heavily on the run, because I think the number one thing you do with Cousins is you try force him out of the pocket. I don't think he's 100%. He's probably 85, but that 15 is important, especially at his age.
It's crazy to me that that took so long to get Chris Jones' contract done, and then they finally got it done, and they had to let Darius Sneed go. And it's crazy to me how from last year to this year, Darius Sneed is that big of a difference maker as far as what the defense has looked like so far.
It's
because not McCluster. Their other cornerback they got, obviously he's more of a CB2 than a CB1. He can't guard the top target, and that puts too much pressure on the back end of the defense.
I think they play well because they get such a great push up front. Their D-line and their linebackers are athletic, and they get a great push up front, so that secondary can kind of sit. You let Sneed go. You said you're saying McDuffie's going to be your guy. He's talented. There's no doubt he's talented. I would have tried to keep Sneed at all costs, but you trust what you've been doing the last couple of years. So that's the key. If you can hold up against that front and force those cornerbacks to really have to play, you've got a good shot. But Atlanta's, everyone's saying, and it's their front five are probably top 5 in the league. So it's going to be if that offensive line can hold up. So I think Kyle Pitts is going to have to be big in this game as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Pay Sneed and ask Patrick to rework his contract again. He might be getting 3 more bonuses or be playing until he's 60 to stretch that money out to work against the cap. But hey, you do what you got to do.
You better figure it out. Like I said, you're 2-0, but it's not your usual Chiefs 2-0. That's great. You've scraped and you've gotten by, and that's great. But if people don't start seeing that dominant Chiefs performance, there's going to be questions. So we'll see what happens. The Falcons have an opportunity to make a statement. It's just going to be whether they can.
He brought up Pitts a second ago. There's also London, who finally got in the end zone with the game winner, and Mooney had Darnell Mooney had a pretty overall impressive game. He should have had 2 touchdowns because he just gave up on a route. We want to kill Barkley for dropping the pass. We should also probably kill Darnell Mooney for just giving up on a route when he was wide open. He probably could have run down the sideline for at least an extra 30 yards. But who do you think is the X factor for the Falcons based on all these issues we're bringing up about the Chiefs defense? Who's the X factor for the Falcons to take advantage of these gaps?
I think it's Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts is an unbelievable tight end who, since he's been in the league, has been underused and not had the chance to blossom. I think he's got the size and the speed to really stretch a defense. And they're going to have to worry about Bijan, Tyler Algier as well. You got the speed and you got that power at the running back position. I think Kyle Pitts can sit in the middle there and cause some serious damage. If the line holds up and gives Kirk time, I really feel that Kyle Pitts could have a great game.
Yeah, Algier got a lot more touches in this last one than he did in week one. And like you said, that's a potential thunder and lightning situation that could really help Cousins. I mean, if he's not healthy, that could really help him as far as diversifying the workload, and maybe he can just kind of pick his spots a little bit more as opposed to having to carry the offense until he's
Exactly.
100%.
Exactly, because the Falcons have so many they've got playmakers on offense at the wide receiver, tight end position where they can stretch that defense. They should be able to run the ball a bit. But we'll find out.
Yeah. Our last one is interesting. I was categorizing this as a bit of a must-win for both teams, but in a little different light because I mean the Rams were coming off. Now they did get off to a slow start last season before they really caught fire, so a slow start for the Rams is not necessarily the biggest deal breaker for their playoff chances. But obviously, with Cup being hurt and Puka being out for a significant amount of time, a slow start this year looks a lot more daunting than a slow start last year. So I think they're kind of in a must win. Obviously, you've always lamented in the past that Stafford's on borrowed time. But the other thing is the Niners, in theory, could be on a little bit of a must win. Similar to how we talked about Baltimore, it's really a bad look for them to start 0-3. It's a really bad look for the Niners to start 1-2, even with the caveat of McCaffrey's injury.
Who's healthy enough to play in this game? Like, let's be honest. Debo out. Kittle could be out. McCaffrey out. Puka out. Cup out. Stafford's got half an arm. Like, let's be real, man. Like, I don't know who's going to show up. Maybe they're going to grab some guys from the local Y and just let them play. Maybe my Uncle Bob out there in Cali can play. I don't know. I don't have an Uncle Bob, but still. If you look at
Shane Falco.
Exactly. You get Shane out there, man. You look at whoever's left, right? Then you look on paper. The Niners should have enough to overcome and win this game. They should. I think they have enough pieces to win. They have to win this game. I think to right the ship and kind of say, okay, you know what? We've got some injuries. Things have been kind of bumpy. We know that we've been the best team in the NFC for the last 3-4 years. You know, it's been us, even though we haven't gotten the job done. You know, we've been to the Super Bowl last year, had a lead, lost it, you know, just whatever. So they may have to change their game plan a bit, but I think they have enough to win this. The Rams, I don't know what they're going to be. Like, this is going to be interesting to see. It's Matt Stafford and a bunch of I don't know. You got Kyren Williams. Hopefully he'll be healthy. He can, he's going to be maybe some serious heavy run, but you're going to get a lot of guys who are going to get some play who we probably haven't seen much of. So that Rams defense is really going to have to probably be out, pull off some turnovers. They're going to have to eat clock. The offense, I don't know. This game, I have no idea what's going to happen.
Is it over for the Rams if they start 0-3?
With these injuries, you don't want to say that because the Rams have surprised, but I think sometimes the clock runs out on that, and you only get so many chances. So I would say that if they go 0-3, I don't give them a chance to make the playoffs. Now, if everyone comes back healthy in 3-4 weeks, and maybe they hang around, and they last game or two of the season they get eliminated, maybe that happens. But no, I think if they go 0-3, I think that it's over. I really do.
Yeah, and how much? I mean, we saw Purdy do a lot in the Super Bowl as a passer, with so many options out, or at least potentially out, especially three of his top four targets. Um, how much faith do you have in Purdy to have a kind of Superman type of performance, even against walking wounded, depleted type of opponent, to win a game by himself?
No, he has to. If this is the guy you're going to pay next year, over $60 million, because he's probably going to get equal or more than what Dak got. Let's be real.
Especially if they win a Super Bowl.
Let's be realistic. If he's your guy, then you put the ball in his hands. He's the quarterback. Let him do. If you dumb it down, then right then and there you're admitting that it's the system and it's not him. He doesn't have the talent. So then you need to be paying him Daniel Jones type money. Don't pay him over $60 million. Don't pay him like he's the best in the league, because you're not allowing him to go out there and perform and show that he is. So no, he's going to have to make some plays. He's, from what he's shown, he's got talent. So let him go out there and prove it.
Let's get some extra pointers in before we wrap. There's not too much to talk about our teams this week. There are, obviously, we don't want to say there are no easy wins in the NFL, but Denver's a pretty easy opponent for your Buccaneers. And
take it one game at a time. We got to be 1 point better. Bo Nix is a quality young guy coming up. Excited to see what he's got.
And I'm going to go out and say it. I think the season is over for my Colts if we lose to the Bears, especially with how bad Caleb Williams has been.
You got Caleb Williams, man. He's going to run around and throw 4 picks. You're good.
I would hope our defense is as good, even with the losses, is as good as the parts constitute, and they can force some turnovers and make his life a living hell. And maybe we just win on that in a field goal game because the offense is so unreliable.
Hey, man, it could happen. Look at the Giants. They lost. They scored 3 touchdowns and lose. It could happen.
We know the Giants are a fun topic for you after last week.
It is what it is, man. It is what it is.
And another extra point. There's a double header on Monday night this week. I don't really necessarily think the Cincinnati-Washington game is much to cry about, but obviously one of your favorite teams.
That's strictly for fantasy, and if you got like an extra $10, you got an extra $10-15 on DraftKings, and you want to bet that away, go right ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. That's all that is.
That's true. But the other game is one of your favorite teams of recent memory to talk about, the Buffalo Bills and the Jaguars, who are 0-2 right now. And that could be a game where we say the season is over for Jacksonville if Buffalo comes out and runs roughshod.
Josh Allen's going to eat them up, man. Josh Allen's going to tear them up. I'm sorry. I have a newfound respect for Buffalo. I really do, for some weird reason, man. It just took Stephon Diggs to leave and for them to get just everyone depleted. And then, you know what? It's just Josh and a bunch of guys playing some ball. I dig what they're doing. I have to give them respect. It's nice to see. I think what it is, it's the fact that everyone was like, yeah, they're good, but we don't know. It wasn't, Buffalo is this unbelievable team and blah, blah, blah. It's nice to see them have to earn it. So I give the props. I'm Buffalo by like 2 scores. It's going to be a mess.
That's your NFL street team, Buffalo.
Oh, I'm telling you right there, man. Josh is going to go over there, rip the shirt, the Superman logo with the buffalo in it, and he's just going to do his thing. James Cook's going to blow for another couple scores. It's going to be a good, fun game.
And I didn't even think of this until just now. The bragging rights for who's the real Josh Allen.
Exactly. Well, he didn't he change his name? Now it's like, was it like Josh Allen something? He added something to his name. I think he did. He changed his name.
Gave up on it. He says, "I know I can't compete with the quarterback." So
he's like, "Yeah, I'm only going to get so much percentage wise from the jersey sales. I'm just going to change it over." But yeah, Jacksonville needs to win the game. There's no doubt about it. This is a do or die for Jacksonville. They're a hot mess right now. So I don't see them beating Buffalo. Maybe the Prince wakes up and all of a sudden throws for 3 touchdowns and, they figure it out. But right now, Buffalo's on a roll, man. I wouldn't go against Josh right now.
So you think the Jags are in a must-win scenario even more than the Rams or the Ravens?
Oh, no, they're all in the same. They all need to win.
all 3 of them. You can't pick one out of the 3.
Well, let's be honest. If the Jags lose, then really, do I think they can bounce back? They've got talent, but I just don't think they can do it. I don't think they have the mental fortitude to do it. Yeah. Exactly. I think the Ravens believe their own press clippings. They're not the Ravens of old. So I don't know what's happening. I think if they end up not making the playoffs, Harbaugh's on the hot seat. I think you have to sit there and say, okay, well, what's going on here? We've given you the talent. What's going on? So let's be realistic here. There are some teams this week that have to win to, even if they don't make the playoffs, to at least fake it into the season for their fans and for themselves. They need to show some kind of fight.
Well, Bucks, McGee, I think based on our whole conversation here, that's very much the theme of this week. Must wins and who needs to get off the schneid more. Sir, what are your final thoughts as we preview week 3?
Week 3. All right. Pats fans, just start saying his name. Drake May. You need him. Brissett. Hell of a run. Steelers fans, this could be the beginning of the end of the Fields experiment. Russ is getting ready to cook. But hey, you never know. Baltimore fans, last gasps. Get it right. And Travis Kelce, if you are the best tight end that's ever been, let's see it. Because if Kyle Pitts puts some numbers on you, I don't want to hear nothing. That's all I got.